Good afternoon, everybody. For our next chat with Sonia, we're staying in Sydney today, actually, and we're chatting with the delightfully gorgeous and amazingly talented Miss KATIE Zagorski. Hi, KATIE.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh, look, it's an absolute pleasure, just as it was a pleasure when you came and played with us in MPO.
That was good. Yeah. That was a good month of my life.
Yeah.
Loved that very much.
It was actually good because that's how we actually met. The first time we met was
yeah, after hearing about you from many people for a long time. So yeah.
I think we were hearing about each other from the same people, telling each other how nice we both were and that we really had to meet.
Yeah, and then it happened.
Yeah.
Great.
No, but just talking about that, when you came here, actually, you joined us as Guest Principal Flute. And it's quite different because our orchestra is made up of 32 different nationalities. But you're very experienced because you've been Guest Principal Flute in a number of Australian orchestras already.
I have actually, yeah. Quite lucky.
So I know about Queensland for sure. And I know, so what have you been doing elsewhere?
Well, I've really been around a lot. So I've played guest principal in Queensland Symphony, Sydney Symphony, Adelaide Symphony, Tasmanian Symphony, Opera Australia Orchestra.
Wow. I should just ask the question another way. Where have you not yet played principal?
Where have I not played principal? Well, I've never played in WASO in WA.
Uh-huh.
And I've only ever played second and pick in Melbourne Symphony.
Now that's interesting. Also, you say only ever second and pick, because that's what I noticed when you were here with me. It was so great because one of the pieces of repertoire you had to play was actually a doubling Piccolo piece.
It was, and it was quite difficult Piccolo bit as well. But, I'm fortunate that just having to. It can be a hard life being a freelancer, but I think it's certainly toughened me up a lot in a lot of ways. But certainly in being able, like, you just have to be able to play all parts.
Yeah.
So I've done a lot of pick and second and principal and associate and a bit of alto in there.
That always comes up as well. I know always when I have to do movie programs in particular.
Oh yeah, there's always and it's always in the pick part, which is like doubly hard because you're like right up in the stratosphere, and then you got to come down to, these low sultry tones.
Yeah. So I think that's an important thing to take away from the conversation from whoever has happened to tune in today. And that's something I really do a lot of with my students is make them ambidextrous, actually. Well, I say make them, but I encourage them to enjoy it because you've got to be employable. It is difficult. But if you're the kind of person that somebody was like, oh, KATIE can do that, and obviously that's why you get the work that you do.
Yeah. I have been told that by a few people in different orchestras that part of why I'm lucky to they fly me down is because they know that I can do most of the parts. So
yeah.
So I am really grateful. So you talk about how it's sort of you encourage your students to maybe they don't want to play piccolo or. And I certainly empathise with that, and because I remember that very well in university.
Me too.
Yeah, you don't want to play pick, but I'm so grateful. I think for two things that forced me to like become a little bit better at pick was that, well, first of all, I was forced to play it in university. I went to the Canberra School of Music with Virginia Taylor and Vernon Hill, and they had a great flute school going on. And that was so good. And they had lots of really great structured teaching throughout the 4-year or 3-year degree. And one of them was that they cycled everyone through on Piccolo and you just had to do it. And So I was really grateful to that. And then I think I still sort of avoided it. And then as an Australian, when you're a bit younger, everyone wants to do Australian Youth Orchestra, so you might remember, and especially you want to do the Europe tour, so you'll do anything. And I remember I finally got into AYO. I didn't get in for quite a while, and they put me on Pick. and then so we did this tour, and it was Trike 4, which, as you know, has a huge Pick solo, and Bartok Concerto for Orchestra, and some other pieces.
In the same program or just in the same tour?
I think it was just the same tour, but I played those pieces and those piccolo parts for a long time, over and over, and honestly, it was a baptism of fire, and it was the best thing for me. I got that Trike 4 under my belt at a young age, and it was when I was a bit more sort of, I don't know about you, but I think I'm a little less fearless than I used to be. So I used to really go for it, and I think that was really good for me. But now Pick's a bit more scary for me now, I think, for whatever reason.
Well, it's interesting you should say that about Trike 4, because one of the first times I was flown to Malaysia, I was actually living in Hong Kong, and I had to fly in at short notice to play Alpine Symphony. And then, make a long story short. I'm usually good at making a short story long, so I'll try to make a long story short.
Making it longer now.
Actually, in my first 6 months of trial here, I had Tchaikovsky 4 and I had Shostakovich 10. Yeah, there's no turning back. And I think that saying is true. I forget, what's her name? The famous piccolo player from the UK who was actually in a hijacking. And she said after that, Shostakovich 10 was the least
a breeze.
Yes, Patricia Morris. How can I forget?
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. And I think you've spent a lot of time in Tasmania too. That's an interesting part of the world. And
yes. So I was offered a contract there for a year on Pick in 2016. So off I trudged and ended up staying there for 2.5 years because I met my current partner there. And I don't think it was just that I met my partner there. I think also I realised afterward that it can be a good and a bad thing that Tasmania really does feel very separate and isolated to not just Australia, the rest of Australia, but the rest of the world. And I think for whatever reason, I was needing, by the end of my year contract, I wasn't ready to join the rest of the world again. And I needed a little bit more of that calm, crisp Tassie air.
Tasmania is stunning, actually. I've had the pleasure of going once. And and for 2 weeks, and I'm like, this is everything that people say it is, and a little bit more.
Was it too cold for you? Very cold.
It's very cold even in summer, but I actually enjoyed it because I'm a winter baby.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
yeah, you go.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Sorry, there's a bit of a delay. We have to, because we just want to talk.
Yeah.
And I've recently discovered a long lost cousin living down there, so I have to go back. Yeah. But it's interesting what you're saying about the isolation. It keeps it so pure and unique. And it's really pristine, and it's almost like you don't want to be touched there. So isn't that amazing that came at the right time for you? And it's making me think, hang on, she's done this whole isolation thing before.
Well, I honestly, this isolation at the moment, I was just talking to a friend yesterday, how I was like, gloating a little bit for the first few months that this is nothing, like this sort of feels very similar to my normal life, I'm completely fine, and it's starting to turn now. I'm a little bit over it now.
Yeah, that's why I'm doing all these chats actually, because everybody's in a different situation. So there's a billion questions that go through my head, of course, because even though we're very similar, we're in a different situation. I'm living in Asia and I'm in an orchestra. And I mean, you're beautifully talented and working all around Australia, but you can't move now. You can't travel and do those things. So, yeah, the gloating starts. You're like, finally, time for me.
Yeah.
I think for me, coping with it has been interesting. It has been a time where it's like, Sonia, just stop, slow down.
Yeah.
But then I found I was really missing the connection of people, and that's why it's so great. I mean, we wouldn't have had this luxury of speaking like this before, except for when I come and visit your gorgeous place. So I guess one of the things we were chatting about before was how to do the isolation. So it's okay to have time off and things, but I think all of us as musicians, we want to keep some momentum playing, and without that date in the diary that says on this day you'll be playing Tchaikovsky 4, you'll be playing Ravel's Piano Concerto. So I'm sure that you've experienced the same as me, where I'm like rethinking, ooh, what am I going to practice today? So this is what amazed me with you the other day. For those of my students who are listening in, 10 of us were lucky enough to attend something very unusual. Katie did a 1-hour solo Zoom recital, which was just amazing. So maybe tell us a bit about that. What did that feel like, the repertoire and the preparation, and compared to what you normally do? Or
Well, I think we spoke about it a little bit in the recital, that I was really grateful for the opportunity someone asked me to do it, because otherwise I need something to work towards. So my goodness, 45 minutes of solo flute repertoire will get you practicing. But what was I going to say? So it was really great, but and we were talking about how it's been so, like, the isolation aside, it's been so long since I've played solo repertoire in general.
Yeah, me too, exactly. And there's a different stamina, there's a whole different set of tools. You're not spending 70% of your brain space blending
and listening and watching. It's more, it's very it's quite vulnerable. I mean, I love playing in orchestra. It's my favorite thing to do in the whole world, which is why I do it. And there's something which I'm sure you will agree, very special about sitting in orchestra and with everyone and making that music together, and
the great variety too, the power of I mean,
and just
I always joke with people that I play a piccolo and I always need at least 80 accompanists.
So so this is very, very different, doing a solo recital, but really, really great challenge. And I wish I could say that I would have organised it on my own. It was just a Zoom thing, but I'm just not that person. And so I was really grateful to be asked to do it. I'm not going to totally sell myself out like that. Like, I hope that I was inspired straight afterwards. Like, I was on a bit of a high. I was like, I can do this again. There's so much repertoire and a lot of time at the moment. I would like to do something else, but it's hard. I don't know. We need structure, and we need...
Yes, and I think that's what we're brought up to do. We aren't, you and I, our industry, we're group people. And a little bit too much of that independence sometimes doesn't sit so well. You probably won't get asked back. So it's actually a skill that is part of actually being really good at what we do, is actually being part of the group and accepting what we're told to do. So from my perspective, I came away from it buzzing probably just as much as you. I felt every minute of it. I was there with you. And even though there's the screen in between, it's real. That performance...
It was intimate. You said, that was one of the things that you said, that was really intimate, because, it was in my home, and we were able to, all of us, talk in between pieces. And as you mentioned, that you don't usually get that in a normal recital situation. So there were pluses to it, you know, making lemonade out of lemons in this time.
And my students just adored it because you did such a great class with a few of them, maybe 5 or 6 of them when you came and joined us, because our youth orchestra is attached to us. And they remember you. They remember the things you're talking about. So it was so great for them to see you again and reacquaint as well.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, you do. You probably saw their little names come up in the hangout or something. But I have to say you inspired me. Coincidentally, the Bach, which is right here, look, on my music.
Oh, nice. Very good.
So this online thing is really around the community at the moment. So from your recital, I was then served an ad for a Piccolo conference that was going on. And one of the players there also, she started her little lecture. She said, you know what I love to play to warm up? Is the Bach A minor solo partita.
Oh, on Piccolo.
Flute. So you need to know that without you knowing it, you've inspired not only me and also collectively with the other Piccolo player, but those same students now. We're going to have a Zoom meet on Friday, and we're going to play one movement of the Bach for each other.
Good.
Yeah, so a little mini recital. So I think that's really important, all of the things that we watch other people doing.
Yeah.
Like you say, you need some inspiration. So you've been an inspiration.
Well, that's nice.
Maybe you can be part of one of our group hangouts with some solo.
I would love to. I would love to. And I also think that, you know how, you know, the saying spoiled for choice? I think that that's real for me and probably a lot of musicians at this moment, is that we're spoiled for choice in 2 ways. Time, like just so much time. So I'm a bit of a deer in headlights, for one. And then 2, repertoire. So I think you say that I inspired you and the other person to play Bach, but I think it's more just like someone highlighting, oh, what about this? Because otherwise it's just like, there are so many pieces we could play and so many things we could practice, so many studies, so many.
Yeah.
So just.
I think it's the word overwhelm.
Yeah. That's true. Complete overwhelm, and then it's just blank. I'm just a blank. So it's nice for someone to be, you see someone online playing something, and then you're like, oh, that's something I can hold on to, and I can give that a red hot go. So. Yeah,
and actually, I've chosen one of the movements that we're all going to turn up and play for each other.
Which one?
We'll send you a recording.
Okay. All right.
We'll get you to be the secret attendee.
Great.
But there's one technique that when I was studying at the conservatorium, one of my oral teachers always used to get us to play everything in every key.
Oh, yes.
So, and it's in the perfect range. It's in such a great range. I said to my students, play it on whichever instrument you like and play it in whichever key you like. Because there's different colours. As soon as you change it to B minor, goodness me. So that's what we're doing with that.
Awesome. That reminds me, sorry if I may just go on a tangent, that piece, I didn't actually talk about it, is really special to me because when I was in uni, we had Jeffrey Lancaster.
Wow.
He was the resident keyboard teacher, and I didn't realise, I think I realised how lucky I was, but maybe not to the extent that I was. But I remember the first time I learnt that Bach partita, my teacher suggested I go and talk to him about it and have a lesson with him on it. And I did, and I can't find it. I'm hoping it's at my mum's part, my original manuscript. It is covered, like there is not a spare bit of blank paper. And he went through and wrote every tiny, like, 3-note modulation, what affect that key meant. And it was, and we talked about articulation and what it was. We spent like 2 hours on it, and I think because I was quite young, it really cemented and informed a little bit, like quite early on for me, of like historical informed practice of Baroque period stuff, which I don't want anyone to think that I think that I'm, a Baroque
but that's something that we never do. I mean, especially as a piccolo player. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm lucky if I do anything Beethoven, Mozart. I mean, my repertoire is
Yeah.
really, really late. So this is wonderful to go back.
Yeah.
When you find that, we need to have a
Send it
talk.
to me.
'Cause
Yeah. I hope I haven't lost it because it's really special. But
yeah, so we chose the last movement just because
yeah.
it was probably the most approachable on any instrument. So yeah, we're
Yes.
gonna have
And not too long, and I know it's
yeah.
sort of a concise little movement, that one.
But there is something inside it. Every little note, as soon as I was transposing it, you learn new things because, hey, this is in a different place. So you suddenly notice a little modulation because you played the wrong note.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, Katie, this is super fabulous. We can talk and talk forever. I guess what what people would love to know also is, so you're actually living in Sydney now. We spoke a lot about Tassie. When the shutdown came for you, you were lucky enough to be able to have time to get out of Tassie. Did you do any concerts without orchestra, without audience, or what was your personal experience of the whole?
Yeah, so it was really, I got in just in time in a way. So I went down sort of mid-March, and I remember I was only there for 3 days. And the first day of rehearsal, I think everything was going ahead, but they were aware and they were like, wash your hands and things like that. The second day of rehearsal, they were, it went to maybe, I can't remember, maybe like, we're going to have to limit ticket sales because there's only 500 people allowed or something. And then I think then by the second rehearsal on that second day, they were like, no, we can't have any audience, but stay tuned. And then the next morning we had the general, we're like, come anyway, even though we were like, the concert's been cancelled for the public. And then we ended up playing the concert to an empty concert hall. And they recorded it, and they got a good recording. It was Brahms' Requiem with Siobhan Stagg, beautiful soprano, and so they got a good recording that they've already put up some of it online. But yeah, and then I left the next day, and it was, I think, maybe 2 days later, then Tassie had a lockdown.
Well, so. Tasmania should. Tasmania needs a great big rope put all the way around it.
Yes, keep it pristine.
Yeah. So, and you're living in Sydney, so maybe just tell people a little bit about like your personal experience there, because Sydney is a crazy price for accommodation and everything, really. But you're lucky enough to live by the ocean, and we went for a beautiful walk down there. But there's a price, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. It's a very, very expensive city, especially with accommodation, rental, and buying. I mean, I don't think we'll ever be able to buy here. But I think Sydney is quite divisive. I meet a lot of people that don't like Sydney at all, and then a lot of people that really, really love it. And I'm from Melbourne, so I'm supposed to not love Sydney. But I moved.
Is that a rule? Yeah. And then everyone from Melbourne and Sydney, when I say I'm from Brisbane, they'll go, I'm sorry.
And what do you say to that?
I'm just like, well, it's the best state. I'm sure you wouldn't understand. No, but so you're from Melbourne, actually. Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah. But I remember when I moved here for fellowship with the Sydney Symphony.
And for people who don't know that word, fellowship with Sydney Symphony is similar to the Malaysian Philharmonic Youth Orchestra. So that's where you're like an apprentice and you get to play some concerts side by side, as well as be mentored by the orchestral players, right?
Yeah. That was honestly the best year of my life. I loved that fellowship year so much, and I think it was partly because I moved to Sydney, and and within 2 weeks I just fell in love with the city. It probably a little bit similar to KL, which I loved also. Just the vibrancy, and it's just something about a big city. It's alive, and I really feed off that, and I really love that. And also I just feel like Sydney is a very special place because. I shouldn't go on too much about it, but I feel like it's very special because it has that big city thing, but it also has the most amazing natural beauty.
Yeah.
So as you said,
I'm still seeing some of your posts there. That's a little bit of difference. I'm putting it in context because I know that your flat there is quite small, so you've got some
Yeah.
challenges with you and your partner working around
Yeah.
booking the online location space.
Yeah.
But the payoff is that gorgeous nature that you say, because you're just a walk from the most amazing beach. And
Yeah.
and you're still allowed to do that. You're still allowed to walk there, but you can't go on the beach. Is that correct?
Yeah, so they've barricaded off the actual sand, but you can still walk on the concrete promenade, which is, and I live near it's a very famous walk, coastal walk. So you can and I still do walk down there, and maintain social distancing, of course. But I just heard today they've opened up not this beach, but a little bit more south. They've opened up a beach for exercise only, but that means swimming. So
yeah, because we're in a very different situation here. Because even walking outside, unless you're going with purpose, for groceries or to a medical appointment or like to visit your elderly relative, it's just not allowed. And even
have you been stopped? Are they really monitoring it?
Yes, I haven't personally, because I'm lucky enough to live like in a flat that's it is a flat, yes, but I've got beautiful jungle views outside and it's open and I can kind of walk around just the edge of my flat and out the back. But I keep reading stories that people in big condos, even if my friend the other day, he posted on his wall, he said, 2 of my neighbours went down into the car park to jog around and police came and got them in the car park and arrested them for the equivalent of about 350 Australian dollars. That's 1,000 ringgit, which the cost of living here. 1,000 ringgit is massive. Yeah, so we've got police roadblocks, we've got army monitoring, and I even heard that if they stop you in the car, has to be one person, and they check your shopping receipt for the date and time. Yeah.
I mean, I'm of two minds. Like, that's really intense, but also power to them for really taking it seriously. And this is a serious thing. And I get really mad at people that aren't taking it seriously. And people weren't taking, well, from my perception, at the start, people were not taking that seriously. And then people were, and I was really great. And now I'm reading about, especially in America, not relaxing, but people that are anti-lockdown. And I'm just, my mind is blown.
Yeah. So, and I straddle both worlds because I'm still very, very Australian, but I've lived in Asia for 20 years. Yeah. So, and you would also appreciate, you've been in KL, there's a lot of people per square kilometre.
A lot of people, yeah.
So our lockdown, actually, it's having really great results. Our curve is starting to go down.
Yeah, amazing.
And I don't do it much because you can get sucked into it, but I did look at some statistics. And actually per capita, we have less cases. I know.
Amazing.
Because, yeah, it is amazing. So I'm okay with that. And I'm using it to do exciting things like talk to my amazing friends.
Very good. It's very impressive that you organise this because, as the days stretch on, I find it really hard to, structure my day. So it's great.
Yeah, structure, what's that? And I'm thinking, like, what day is it today? It's Monday today.
Monday. Yeah.
All right, Katie, look, it's always, I hate to have to say goodbye because it'll be till next time. We won't say goodbye.
Yeah, it's been really nice.
Yeah, it's beautiful to chat. And even I think just for people to do that, just reach out and talk to people. We're so frazzled normally. We don't get the chance. And even in a rehearsal, we don't have this luxury. I'd probably say to you, like, do you want that shorter? Do you want that longer? Should that be tongued? That's about it. Yeah.
At first I thought you said, do you want that short black? Like you're offering me coffee? And I was like, yeah, thanks.
That's also the conversation we have very quickly.
I also remember having some very good coffee in KL. So
yes. Well, hopefully when this is all over, we're all on the other side. Hopefully we can bring you back.
Oh, that'd be great. I'd love that.
Yeah. So thank you so much for your time, Katie, and thank you for the inspiration, and I hope we can connect again really soon.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, and take care, everyone. Wash your hands.